to see a lively council chamber. Today is the 19th of January, 2023, and this afternoon session of Portland City Council meeting. Keelan, will you please call the roll?
Good afternoon. Rubio.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Maps.
Here.
Wheeler.
Mayor Wheeler is representing the city at the Council of Mayors Conference in Washington, D.C., so that's why they're not here today. Okay, we'll now hear from legal counsel on the rules of order and decorum. Maya's in the box. All right.
Welcome to the Portland City Council. City Council is holding hybrid public meetings with in-person attendance in addition to electronic attendance. If you wish to testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance by visiting the council agenda on the council clerk's webpage at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. You may sign up for communications to briefly speak about any subject. You may also sign up for public testimony on resolutions, reports, or the first readings of ordinances. Written testimony may be submitted at cctestimony@portlandoregon.gov. Your testimony should address the matter being considered at the time. When testifying, please state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Please disclose if you are a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. For testifiers joining virtually, please unmute yourself once the council clerk calls your name. The presiding officer preserves order and decorum during city council meetings so everyone can feel welcome, comfortable, respected, and safe. The presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. A timer will indicate when your time is done. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations, will not be allowed. If there are disruptions, a warning will be given that further disruption may result in the person being ejected for the remainder of the meeting. After being ejected, a person who fails to leave the meeting is subject to arrest for trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Colleagues, we have 2 time-certain items before us today. Given the relationship between the 2 items, we'll have the clerk call them together. Keelan, please call items 65 and 66.
Item 65, City Auditor Report to Council on the Charter Commission's proposed measures to voters, and item 66, Final Report to Council on the work of the 2020 Charter Commission.
Great, thank you, Keelan. Colleagues, the Portland City Charter requires that at least once every 10 years, City Council appoint a 20-member Charter Commission to review and recommend changes to the Charter. City Council appointed the current Charter Commission in December of 2020. Over the past 2 years, the Charter Commission was deeply engaged in research and community engagement to shape recommendations for amendments to the city's charter. Under City Code, the Auditor's Office is responsible for reporting to the Council on the Charter Commission's proposed measures to voters. After we hear from Auditor Reddy, we will hear from 2 former co-chairs of the Commission who will provide a report to the Council on the Commission's work overall. Council will vote to accept the Charter Commission report, but Council does not need to vote on the Auditor's report. I will now turn this over to Madam Auditor Reddy, and welcome to the Chambers. It's your first official meeting in 2023.
Thank you.
Yes, all right, welcome.
Thank you, Council President Ryan, and good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Simone Reddy, and I am Portland City Auditor and the 6th elected official. This was the 2nd Charter Commission since voters approved Measure 2689 on November 7th, 2006, which added Article 3 to Chapter 13, which provided for periodic charter review. As Council President Ryan mentioned, my office is responsible for reporting to City Council on the Charter Commission's proposed measures to voters. The Portland Charter Commission voted December 3rd, 2022, to submit charter amendments to the voters on the November 2024 general election ballot. All amendments were supported by an affirmative vote of at least 15 members. The amendments, if approved by voters, would take effect immediately upon adoption. Charter Section 13302 requires all amendments receiving at least 15 votes of commission members to be submitted to the voters. The report submitted to council for this agenda item outlines the proposed measures to voters and provides a redline version of the charter sections proposed to be added, amended, or deleted. I would like to note that there were a few typographical errors identified by the staff, and I will be making certain changes to the report to correct them. Those include correcting references to subsection numbers in Section 2:105 and clarifying the subsection of Section 2:206. I will also renumber Section 2:105 to clarify that the addition of the new subsection is not a replacement. That said, there are 5 proposed measures to voters. Proposed Measure 1 deletes the prohibition of mandating the weatherization of structures built before September 1, 1979. Proposed Measure 2 creates an independent Portland Elections Commission. Proposed Measure 3 deletes outdated, burdensome, and redundant requirements for franchise agreements. Proposed Measure 4 deletes vague and archaic language. Roaming the streets at unseasonable hours, deletes vague and archaic language, offensive businesses, updates and makes consistent references to protected classes, and replaces disability with incapacity when referencing an elected official's inability to perform their duties. Finally, proposed Measure 5 clarifies language to reflect the city's existing rules to protect recreational and natural resources and to protect and manage water, sewage, and stormwater. After this meeting, my office will forward the measures to the city attorney's office to prepare the ballot titles and explanatory statements for the measures. My office will be responsible for filing the measures with the county to be placed on the November 2024 general election ballot. We anticipate filing with the county close to the November 2024 election deadline, which is early September 2024. The measures are considered referred once the city auditor files and county elections officials receive the notice of measure election forms. The Charter Commission also prepared a report that summarizes its work. Exhibit A to both this report and the Charter Commission's item is the Charter Commission's 9th and final progress report. With us today are 2 former co-chairs of the commission, Deborah Porta and Brenda Kita, who will provide a presentation regarding the commission's final report to council. I am going to take a seat, but I am here to answer any questions. And I understand that additional charter commissioners and charter review staff are also present. I will now turn it over to Commissioner Porta to begin the presentation.
Actually, I'm going to start. Commissioner Kita.
Okay, Commissioner Kita.
Thank you, Auditor Reddy. My name is Brenda Kita, and I served as one of the most recent co-chairs of the Portland Charter Commission. We have a 25 to 30-minute presentation before we open it up for questions and discussions. To ground us, a city charter is a guiding document that establishes the government system and structure of a city. It functions as our city's constitution. The city charter requires that at least once every 10 years, City Council appoints a 20-member charter commission to review and recommend changes to the charter. City Council appointed the Charter Commission in December of 2020, and we completed our work in December of 2022. This image describes how the commission authority works. If 15 or more commissioners agree to a recommended change, is somebody changing the slides for us? I don't know who's controlling the slides. There we go. Thank you. If 15 or more commissioners agree to a recommended change, those recommendations go directly to the ballot for Portlanders to vote on. If 11 to 14 members agree to a recommended change, then those recommendations go to City Council. City Council must decide whether to refer those recommendations to the ballot as is, modify them, or do nothing. If only by a vote of Portlanders that the charter may be changed. In summer of 2021, the Charter Commission decided to approach charter review in 2 phases, meaning 2 sets of issues and 2 election cycles. The first phase focused on the structure of city government and the method of electing city officials, resulting in ballot measure 26-228, passed by Portland voters in November 2022. The second phase began this summer and ended last month. Next slide. We all know and understand the important work of charter reform required engaging Portlanders across neighborhoods, lived experiences, and backgrounds. The Charter Commission was committed to a community-driven process to inform its decision-making and have an equitable, accessible, and transparent community engagement process. Throughout charter review, we released a series of progress reports so Portlanders could follow our work. The 9th and final progress report was provided to Council with this agenda item. We partnered with almost 20 community-based organizations to support the design and implementation of community education engagement activities to meaningfully engage Portland's diverse communities. On the screen, you can see a snapshot of the Commission's engagements through the process. The Commission had more than 100 public meetings. We hosted 28 community listening sessions with almost 800 attendees, received almost 2,000 public comments, including more than 20 hours of verbal public comment, and we had over 4,000 survey responses and held over 130 briefings and presentations on charter review. I want to take this moment to thank the thousands of Portlanders who engaged in charter review. Thank you for joining our listening sessions, taking our surveys, submitting testimony, reading our updates, joining our meetings and hearings, and most importantly, for sharing your lived experiences and commitment to our city. I also want to thank the Council for investing in the charter review process, particularly in dedication of resources of community engagement, community education and engagement. In June 2022, the Charter Commission voted with a supermajority to advance a ballot measure to change Portland city government to the November 2022 ballot. Portlanders overwhelmingly passed ballot measure 26-228 with a vote of 58% to 42%. The ballot measure will change the city government in significant ways, allowing voters to rank candidates in order of their preference using ranked choice voting. You can go to the next slide. 4 new geographic districts with 3 members elected to each district, expanding the city council to the total of 12, and a city council that focuses on setting policy, and a mayor elected citywide to run the city's day-to-day operations with the help of a professional city administrator. It is the Charter Commission's belief and desire that the voter-approved charter amendments will make Portland's government more accountable, transparent, efficient and effective, responsive, and representative of every area of our city. Next slide. Because voters passed the measure, the process to implement the will of the voters began immediately. The Independent District Commission will be appointed next week. The district map will be adopted by September 2023. District-based elections using ranked choice voting will be in place for the November 2024 election. A mayor and the new city council will enter office January 1st, 2025 into the new form of government's roles and responsibilities. The Charter Commission is committed to an effective and efficient transition to a new government. It is ultimately City Council's responsibility to implement the will of the voters while keeping true to the intent of the voter-approved amendments. Successful implementation will be crucial for repairing and building trust with Portlanders. Next slide. The city would build on the robust should build on the robust public engagement started by the Charter Commission and continue to engage communities historically left out of City Hall decision-making and partner with community-based organizations. City Council must invest in the resources and staff necessary to educate all Portlanders on the new form of government and method for electing city leaders. Next slide. As soon as the Portland Charter Commission completed its Phase 1 recommendations, we moved into Phase 2. Phase 2 included 3 focused areas: climate and environmental justice, expansion of voting rights, and city bureau and office proposals. Phase 2 concluded last month with the Commission voting to advance 9 proposals to voters in November 2024 and voting to recommend 6 proposals to City Council. The 9 proposals directly referred to voters were all supported by a supermajority, 15 or more charter commissioners. Proposal 1 is to delete the prohibition on mandating weatherization of structures built before September 1, 1979. This proposal was initiated by the city's Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. Currently, the city cannot mandate weatherization for any building built before September 1st, 1979, unless council refers the weatherization mandate to voters. This limit was added in 1980 via initiative petition and passed with the 56% of the vote. Under the proposed amendment, the city would be able to move forward with long-standing climate and energy policy commitments, which call for Portland to reach community-wide carbon neutrality and to eliminate fossil fuels entirely from electricity, buildings, and transportation by 2050. These commitments require strong mandates around energy efficiency. The City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. Proposal 2 is to create an independent Portland Elections Commission. This proposal was initiated by the city's Small Donors Program. Currently, the Portland Elections Commission exists in Portland City Code, which can be amended at any time by City Council. Under the proposed amendment, the Independent Portland Elections Commission would exist in the charter, which can only be amended by the affirmative vote of a majority of Portland voters. Creating the commission and authorizing the commission to implement public financing and other election programs in the charter helps insulate the public financing program from the real and perceived conflicts of interest by elected officials who may use the program to run for re-election. The City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. Proposal 3 is to delete outdated, burdensome, and redundant requirements for franchise agreements. This proposal was initiated by the city's Office for Community Technology. Currently, City Council approves franchise agreements via ordinance through an outdated, burdensome, and redundant process that includes publication of the proposed franchise, frequently 20-plus pages in length, in a local newspaper, extended time between the first and second reading of the ordinance, and requires the franchisee to sign the franchise and submit written acceptance of the franchise. Under the proposed amendment, City Council would approve franchise agreements using a process similar to that of other ordinances. The City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. Next slide. Proposal 4 is to delete vague and archaic language, roaming the streets at unseasonable hours. This proposal was initiated by the city's Bureau of Development Services. Currently, council may prohibit persons from roaming the streets at unseasonable hours. Under the proposed amendment, this section would be deleted in its entirety, and the City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. Proposal 5 is to delete vague and archaic language, offensive businesses. This proposal was initiated by the city's Bureau of Development Services. Currently, council may regulate, restrain, and provide for the exclusion of businesses which are offensive or may create or constitute a nuisance. The reference to offensive is vague and archaic. Under the proposed amendment, council would retain authority to regulate, restrain, and provide for the exclusion of businesses which may create or constitute a nuisance. The City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. Proposal 6 is to update and make consistent references to protected classes. This proposal was initiated by the city's Office of Equity and Human Rights and the city's Bureau of Development Services. Currently, the charter includes multiple references to protected classes, but always describes the protected classes differently. Under the proposed amendment, all references to protected classes would use the following updated and consistent language: protected class under local ordinance or state or federal law. The City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. Next slide. Proposal 7 is to replace disability with incapacity when referencing elected officials' inability to perform their duties. This proposal was initiated by the city's Office of Equity and Human Rights. Currently, the word disability is used to describe situations where an elected official is unable to perform their duties. Under the proposed amendment, the word incapacity would be used in place of disability. This change reflects the reality that an elected official can be or become disabled and still perform their duties. The City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. Proposal 8 is to clarify language to reflect the city's existing role to protect recreational and natural resources. This proposal was initiated by Portland Parks and Recreation. Currently, the description of the city's role to establish and protect recreational and natural areas was last updated in 1966. Under the proposed amendment, the description of the city's role would be clarified and streamlined. The City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. Proposal 9 is to clarify language to reflect the city's existing role to protect and manage water, sewage, and stormwater. This proposal was initiated by the city's Bureau of Environmental Services. Currently, the description of the city's role to protect human health and the environment by managing sewage and stormwater was last updated in 1966. Under the proposed amendment, the city's role would be clarified with updated language. The city's budget office determined that there is no direct financial impact. The next slide. The Charter Commission voted to refer its 9 proposals as 5 ballot measures. 4 of the proposals will be consolidated into 1 ballot measure because they all update outdated language. And 2 of the proposals will be consolidated because they clarify language. As a reminder, the Commission can refer measures only in general elections, those in even-numbered years, and may choose between the May and November elections. The Commission chose the November 2024 election because the electorate is larger and more reflective of Portlanders. City Code sets the process for ballot measures referred by the Charter Commission. After today's report to the Council, the City Attorney's Office drafts ballot titles and explanatory statements. The city's elections officer will publish the ballot title challenge notice, and people have an opportunity to challenge the ballot titles. Based on information from the city's elections office, the city elections official anticipates filing notice with the county near the filing deadline early September 2024. This also triggers political activities restrictions. The city is responsible for educating Portlanders about the referred measures leading up to the November 2024 election. The city should build off the voter education campaign the city led for ballot measure 26-228, which included Secretary of State approved educational materials in multiple languages, such as fact sheets, frequently asked questions, presentations, and mailers. Because all the referred proposals were initiated from city bureaus and offices, those bureaus and offices should help engage their constituents. The city should set aside funding for community-based organizations to help educate Portlanders on the ballot measures. Finally, some of the ballot measures are more housekeeping in nature. 2 measures of more substance, including deleting the prohibition on mandating weatherizations of structures built before September 1st, 1979, and creating an independent Portland Elections Commission. More education should be devoted to those ballot measures. I'll now pass it to former Charter Commissioner Co-Chair Deborah Porta to continue the presentation.
Thanks, Brenda. In addition to the proposals directly referred to Portland voters, Phase 2 concluded with the Commission voting to advance 6 proposals as recommendations to City Council. This is the first time during our charter review process that Council has discretion over recommendations of the Commission. If 11 to 14 commissioners agree to a recommended change, then those recommendations go to City Council. City Council must decide whether to refer those recommendations to the ballot as is, modify them, or to do nothing. We should note that when the Commission voted on Phase 2 proposals, there were 3 vacancies on the Commission, leaving only 17 members. Our hope is that Council ensures these proposals are considered through open public processes. Proposal 1 is to remove the 5% cap on transient lodgings tax. This proposal was initiated by the city's Revenue Division of the Bureau of Revenue and Financial Services. Currently, the city is limited to assessing a 5% tax on the amount paid for the privilege of occupancy or lodging in hotels, motels, and short-term rentals. Under the proposed amendment, the city would be able to assess a higher tax on transient lodging. The Portland limit was set at a time when typical transient lodging tax rates were lower in Oregon and across the country. The City Budget Office determined that while there's no direct financial impact, the amendment may result in the city's ability to collect increased revenue. During the November 2022 public comment period, we received 19 comments related to this proposal, which is 11% of comments received. There was general opposition to the proposal suggesting the transient lodging tax cap should not be amended until the tourism industry recovers. The commission voted to recommend this proposal with a vote of 14-3. Proposal 2 is to create a charter article dedicated to environmental issues that includes environmental justice as a core value of the city, requires the city to assess the climate impact of its decisions, and establishes a right to a clean and healthy environment. Currently, there is no language in the charter specific to environmental issues. Under the proposed amendment, 1, environmental justice would become a core value of the city in addition to any other core values adopted by City Council. 2, the city would assess the climate impact of its decisions and actively manage the decline of fossil fuel use within its boundaries. And 3, all residents would have a right to a clean and healthy environment. The City Budget Office interprets this proposal as requiring the city to provide a proactive climate assessments on all capital projects and major policy, land use, and zoning changes. The Budget Office estimates that the proposal will likely cost a minimum of $14.4 million annually to implement. Funds would support staffing in all 5 major infrastructure bureaus, staffing in the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, training support, and consultancy support. The Budget Office was unable to determine a methodology upon which to construct a potential high-end cost estimate in the time allowed. During the November 2022 public comment period, we received 120 comments related to this proposal, which is 67% of comments received. There was overwhelming support for adding an environment article to the charter and a call for urgent and bold action. There were about 7 comments that didn't express support or opposition, but noted the large cost of the proposal and its vague language asking, for example, whether elected officials would be prevented from air travel. Many commenters requested revisions to the proposal, including a fossil fuel phase-out and language preventing the expansion of new fossil fuel infrastructure. There was also significant support for revisions proposed by 350 PDX, Public Employees Act for Climate Emergency, or PEACE, and Sunrise Movement PDX. Requested revisions include strengthening the environmental justice language, adding additional lens for climate assessments to be environmental, right, and regenerative economy, adding powers for the city to regulate waste, including air emissions as waste, adding language that the fossil fuel phase-out isn't intended to restrict safety and seismic resiliency improvements, and adding language committing the city to protect Portland's natural systems. The Commission voted to recommend this proposal with a vote of 13-2 with 1 abstention. Proposal 3 is to establish meaningful public engagement as a core value of the city. Currently, the city must comply with the Oregon Public Meetings and Public Records Law, but public engagement is not explicitly referenced in the charter. Under the proposed amendment, meaningful public engagement would become a core value of the city, in addition to any other core values adopted by City Council. The City Budget Office determined that there is no direct financial impact. During the November 2022 public comment period, we received 19 comments related to this proposal, which is 11% of comments received. There was general support for the proposal. Some comments requested that meaningful engagement should be well-defined and that the proposal should have teeth to ensure impact. The Commission voted to recommend this proposal with a vote of 11-5. Proposal 4 is to require the city to create by ordinance a participatory budgeting program open to all residents. Currently, the city has no participatory budgeting program. Under the proposed amendment, the city would need to create a participatory budgeting program where Portland residents would be responsible for allocating at least 1% of the city's general fund discretionary ongoing resources. The decisions would be binding. The proposal would require the city to set aside 1% of the city's general fund discretionary resource for allocation to city bureaus and services through a participatory budgeting process. Using the latest forecast information, a 1% general fund discretionary set-aside beginning in fiscal year 2025-26 would be $7.15 million. During the November 2022 public comment period, we received 30 comments related to this proposal, which is 20% of comments received. There was general support for the proposal. Only one stated that it wouldn't add value to the charter and is likely to create problems. Several commenters suggested changing the resources allocated, including increasing to 1.2% of general fund discretionary resources, allocating at least $1 million per 100,000 residents, or basing the allocation on other cities' models such as Seattle. The commission voted to recommend this proposal with a vote of 14-2. Proposal 5 is to expand the right to vote in city elections to the fullest extent allowed by law. Other than the requirement to conduct periodic voter education campaigns, the proposed language mirrors the language proposed by the Multnomah County Charter Review Committee. The county measure was on the November ballot and did not pass with a vote of 53% to 47%. There were not significant campaigns on either side of the county measure. Currently, state law provides that Portland residents who are United States citizens 18 years of age or older are eligible to register to vote. Under the proposed amendment, the city would be required to extend the right to vote, including to non-citizens, to the fullest extent allowed by law. This proposal would require the city to conduct periodic voter education campaigns to familiarize voters with voter eligibility, estimated to cost $100,000 annually, or $200,000 per two-year election cycle. During the November 2022 public comment period, we received 20 comments related to this proposal, which is 12% of comments received. 13 comments were in opposition to the proposal, and 7 were in support. Those opposing the proposal do not believe that non-citizens should have the right to vote. Those supporting the proposal believe that it will lead to more democratic elections. The commission voted to recommend this proposal with a vote of 14-2. Finally, Proposal 6 is to create an Office of the Transparency Advocate. The commission considered this proposal at its final meeting, so the city attorney's office did not draft a brief impartial narrative or red line, and the city budget office didn't prepare a financial impact statement. The red line on the slides was offered by community members and is meant as a starting point for City Council's consideration of the proposal. The proposal would create an Office of the Transparency Advocate in the Auditor's office, similar to the state's Office of the Public Records Advocate. It would provide an impartial office, readily available to the public, that is authorized to safeguard the rights of people to know about and participate in their government, and promote high standards of efficiency, accountability, and transparency in the provision of city services. Currently, the city has an ombudsman in the auditor's office who investigates complaints and identifies ways to resolve them. The ombudsman investigates complaints related to openness and transparency, but is also responsible for other areas of investigation. The transparency advocate would be singularly focused on transparency, and everyone in the city could go to this advocate and be assisted with transparency issues. During the November 2022 public comment period, we received 20 comments related to this proposal, which represents 83% of comments received on proposals not advanced for public comment. There was support for adding an Office of the Transparency Advocate in the Auditor's office modeled after the State of Oregon's Public Records Advocate. The commission voted to recommend this proposal with a vote of 12 yes votes and 4 abstentions. And with that, I'll conclude with our view of the city's next steps. For the Phase 1 transition, it is ultimately City Council's responsibility to implement the will of the voters while keeping true to the intent of the voter-approved amendments. Successful implementation will be crucial for repairing and building trust with Portlanders. The city should build on the robust public engagement started by the Charter Commission and continue to engage communities historically left out of City Hall decision-making and partner with community-based organizations. City Council must invest in the resources and staff to educate all Portlanders on the new form of government and method for electing city leaders. For Phase 2 proposals referred to voters, the city is responsible for educating Portlanders about the referred measures leading up to the November 2024 election. The city should build off of the voter education campaign the city led for ballot measure 26228, which included Secretary of State approved educational materials such as fact sheets, frequently asked questions, presentations, and mailers. More education should be devoted to the ballot measures that are substantive in nature. The city should set aside funding for community-based organizations to help educate Portlanders on the ballot measures. And finally, for Phase 2 proposals recommended to City Council, Council should ensure the proposals are considered through open public processes. Thank you again for investing in the charter review process, and a final thank you to Portlanders who engaged with us over the past 2 years. That concludes our presentation, and I'll turn it back to the Council President.
Thank you, Brenda and Deborah. What I recall hearing is that some of you need to leave earlier than listening to all of the public comment, correct? Because we have, how many people signed up?
We have 47 people signed up.
47, okay. And so I heard a note that we should go ahead and ask questions prior to public comment. Is that correct? Okay. And so I think that's where we're at, right, in the program? All right. Usually we go directly to public comment right now, but I just got that note from all of you. So you should be happy about this, right? Okay, good. All right, colleagues. Hello, Commissioner Rubio. Anyone have any questions? And thank you for that thorough report. It was very helpful. Yeah. Anyone have any questions on what we just heard this report? Commissioner Rubio? You're good? Okay. I think we can just go ahead and move on then to public comment. Yeah. And we made some guidelines. Usually when we go over 20 to 30, we tend to shave it down to 2 minutes. So is that right? Okay. And so for those of you that are virtual, about 2 minutes, wrap up your thought. I think you have about 10 to 20 seconds before this very jarring muted thing happens. So please know that's the rules. And if you're in the chamber, we'll have you wrap up your comment at 2 minutes. And after about 10, 20 seconds, if you go over, we'll ask you to please stop. Fair? Okay. Keelan, go ahead and read the order.
Thank you, President Ryan. I will call testifiers in groups of 3. First up, we have Jim Labby, followed by Melanie Billings-Young and Janice Thompson. And you're all welcome to come up and sit at the table if you want.
3 at a time. Okay. Welcome. The mic is hot, so when you begin, the timer will begin.
Great. Thank you. My name's Jim Labby. I live in North Portland. I am a co-director of participatory budgeting in Oregon. We've worked since 2018 to bring participatory budgeting to Oregon. We started with a forum, the Rosewood Initiative, that brought a whole bunch of people together that was partially funded by the city. I'm here today to support the amendments that strengthen democracy and address climate change, but really to speak to specifically the participatory budgeting amendment that we worked on with the commission for over 18 months. And I really want to we've given you the materials, we've talked to your staff some, we hope we can talk more about this proposal, but I want to just share a story that I learned actually that spring when we were doing the forum that really illustrates, I think, the positive impacts and benefits of participatory budgeting that have been demonstrated around the world, across the United States and all along the Pacific Coast. Portland's the only city not to have launched a process. And it's a story of a group of people who come into the process in New York when it was really started, and they had this idea to start a community garden at a local school. And they get involved, and in the process, they learn about a group of students at the school who are working, their project is to put bathroom stalls on doors on the bathroom stalls of their bathrooms. They were out of repair, and the students weren't using the bathroom. They were basically all day. This is what they needed. And the people basically that wanted the community garden shelved their project, and got involved and got behind the students to install bathroom doors. And it was successful. It won in the voting phase, and it actually was implemented. And so this is the critical thing to understand about participatory budgeting. It's about delegating power to your constituents and letting them wrestle with what you wrestle with over a small portion of the budget. And in the process, gain the skills and knowledge, and you get the ideas about, and you hear from the people that you're not hearing from, because they have reason to participate because they know this is a way they can affect change in their community. We really hope that you'll consider this and work with us. I don't think we have to do the minimum allocation. Boston did a proposal that was basically in 2021 was a model for this.
Thank you,
Please
Jim.
give it your consideration. Thank you.
I just want to be consistent with the people that do it virtual that will just be like cut off automatically. All right, thanks. Hi, Melanie.
Good afternoon. I'm Melanie Billings-Yun, a former member of the Portland Charter Commission. I'm speaking to you today to express my concerns regarding the slow implementation of Measure 26228, restructuring our city's election system and form of government. These changes, to take effect in less than 2 years, were resoundingly approved by 165,000 Portland voters, a 16-point electoral margin. Stressing that accountability and transparency would be the government's top priorities, on November 10, Portland's Chief Administrative Officer announced that in 1 week, applications would go out for a Transition Advisory Committee to engage with Portlanders and the city throughout the transition. Then, silence. It was only 2 days ago, and 2 months after it was to have been released, that the application quietly appeared, though without a council ordinance. Even with tight deadlines, it will be months more before this vital organ of community engagement can begin work. Whether justified or not, this delay and the silence surrounding it raise natural suspicions that our city council lacks commitment in carrying out the will of the people. At minimum, they reflect a lack of urgency. So I am here today to urge you to move forward with concrete steps to implement the voter-mandated changes to our city's government and election system, and to keep your commitment to inform and involve the community throughout this process. I understand that some of you oppose this amendment, but it is now our collective duty to honor the result of the election and to restore public trust by ensuring a smooth and open transition within the time frame mandated by the Charter. Put simply, there is no time to waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
Hello, I'm Janice Thompson, representing the League of Women Voters of Portland. The League wholeheartedly supported Measure 26228 and testifying today to highlight the strengths of the Charter Review Commission and the importance of prompt and robust implementation of its work. The League commends the quite appropriate diversity of the Charter Commission and its commitment to transparency and extensive public engagement. The charter deadline for the Independent District Commission is on track to be met. More broadly, however, we are very concerned that the City Council is not approaching charter reform implementation with adequate urgency and public input. The League has requested meetings with each of you to detail our thinking on what constitutes robust reform implementation and to discuss the dynamics of continued work under the current but outgoing system. Right now, we want to register the League's disappointment in the 2-month delay in launching the Government Transition Advisory Committee. We greatly appreciated the hard-working transition team's timely preparation of last November's ordinance to establish this group, and it should have been approved then. Appropriately, such a transition advisory group didn't belong in the charter. However, such a group is needed to provide its own advice, but even more important, facilitate broad public engagement and education. An advisory committee is also vital to ensure full transparency of public and stakeholder input. Now, better late than never, and maybe a little bit more low profile than would be desired, the Transition Advisory Committee is getting off the ground. The League will be monitoring the city's work over the next 2 years and advocating to ensure timely and thorough implementation of the charter reforms adopted by Portland voters. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Janice. Keelan.
Our next three testifiers are online. We have Debbie Kay, followed by Shannon Hiller-Webb and Marie Tybel.
Do I need to wait or shall I get
Nope.
started?
Go ahead, Debbie.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, City Commissioners and Mayor Wheeler in absentia. I am Debbie Kay, President of the League of Women Voters of Portland. The League of Women Voters joins the Society of Professional Journalists, ACLU Oregon, and Open Oregon in encouraging you to create the position of transparency advocate in the city charter. The advocate should be housed in the auditor's office and work closely with the city ombudsman. The City of Portland adopted transparency as one of its core values in 2020. We feel, however, that it has far to go in implementing this fundamental value. A transparency advocate available to assist the public and city employees, and with the authority to conduct investigations and issue reports, will safeguard our access to information. As an organization that promotes active and informed participation in government, the League needs to fully understand the issues before acting. There are times, however, when information that should be publicly available sadly is not. For example, last fall, we were looking for background information related to a city advisory commission's recent deliberations and noticed that no minutes had been posted for at least the previous 12 months. We alerted a staff member who remedied the situation. We followed up with an additional recommendation that they post agendas, meeting materials, and offer community members a link to sign up for meeting notifications. To be helpful, we also provided a copy of Open Oregon's Guide to Public Meetings Law. Other than the minutes, the other items are still not available on the website. Transparency is important to the League as a matter of principle and as a practical matter. The availability of full and accurate information improves the quality of the input that we and other community members provide to you, decision makers, and those in other parts of city government. A transparency advocate position embedded in the charter will ensure there is someone who appreciates the importance of access to information and can assist us in gaining that access. Thank you for the opportunity to address this important topic with you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Next up is Shannon Hiller-Webb.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Shannon Hiller-Webb, and I am the president of the South Burlingame Neighborhood Association. Marie Tybel, who will be following me, and I will each present part of this testimony. Our pronouns are she, her. Our testimony concerns one of 6 proposals recommended by the Charter Commission, the requirement that the city create by ordinance a participatory budgeting or PB program. We are convinced that PB is a critical program for ensuring government accountability and transparency that voters continue to demand in Portland. We will share our experience holding a district coalition accountable as just one example for why we need participatory budgeting. On March 10th, 2021, City Council approved ordinance number 190321 to permanently cut city funding from Southwest Neighborhoods, Inc., a district coalition known as Sweeney. This decision was based largely on the results of a city-mandated forensic audit at a cost to taxpayers of $69,000, which found $179,000 of financial mismanagement and other financial loss of $175,000 from employee embezzlement that was adjudicated in court. This is a total of nearly $370,000 in taxpayer dollars lost to embezzlement, financial waste, fraud, abuse, and the cost of the audit. The forensic audit also documents how Sweeney engaged in a pattern of bullying and harassment in an attempt to silence anyone seeking transparency and accountability. Forensic auditors noted, quote, there was evidence that people involved with Sweeney had been bullied, attacked, dismissed, shut down, censored, demeaned, had felt unsafe and fearful, and that those instances were pathological and created a hostile and toxic culture, unquote. Had BB been in place at the time, equity is a key foundation centered in the process, and it may have prevented decades-long harassment of Southwest community members seeking accountability from Sweeney. Sweeney also attempted to evade public scrutiny by refusing to turn over public records to Sweeney board members, residents, and the city. In June 2020, Civic Life requested public records, and Sweeney responded with a demand for $32,000 before they would comply. This is despite the fact that Sweeney was contractually bound to provide records to the city for free, and the city was the source of 85% of Sweeney's annual funding for 40 plus years. I'll let Marie take over from here.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. And so they
Okay.
get 2 minutes as well. Okay.
Thank you. While the city was investigating, we filed a lawsuit in October 2020 asking the court to declare that Sweeney is the functional equivalent of a public body and therefore subject to the public records law. In March 2022, the judge agreed and ordered Sweeney to turn over public records to support our desire for access, transparency, and accountability. The city ordinance approved at City Council also committed in Section C to schedule a future council work session so that council can work collaboratively on the larger issue of service provision to neighborhood associations and district coalitions to ensure the provision of equitable services and to resolve longstanding issues as identified by the city auditor's office. To our knowledge, this action has not been taken to date by City Council since its passing in March 2021, and we believe this can be satisfied by adopting participatory budgeting as a framework for community engagement. Sweeney is just one example of the egregious toll on volunteers, city staff, and resources needed to address issues of accountability and transparency. If participatory budgeting, a democratic process in which residents decide how to spend a portion of a public budget, had been in place, we could have all saved time and valuable resources. In 2019, our team of volunteers spent hundreds of hours documenting concerns that a publicly funded organization with a mission to support community engagement with the city was engaging in exclusionary behavior. The decision by City Council to defund Sweeney was protracted and likely required hundreds of hours from staff in Civic Life, City Council, the Office of the City Attorney, and the Mayor's Office, as well as from the many residents who gave testimony at 3 separate hearings. This is an example of how we are already paying the costs of not having participatory budgeting in place. In conclusion, we urge you to send a PB amendment to voters, even if it removes the minimum funding allocation and leaves funding levels to the new city council. As a purported progressive city, it's regrettable that we're the only West Coast city from LA to Vancouver that has not yet launched participatory budgeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
Next up, we have Kay Rambo, followed by Maria Sipin and Lynn Davis.
Hear me?
Yes, Kay, we can hear you loud and clear.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you for considering the charter updates referred to you in item 66. In addition to being a Portlander, I'm here in my capacity as the editor-in-chief of Street Roots and vice president of the Greater Oregon Society of Professional Journalists. I'm here to speak in support of referring the creation of an office of the Transparency Advocate to voters after refinement and public vetting conducted by the city auditor, as proposed by a coalition including ACLU of Oregon, League of Women Voters of Portland, and Open Oregon. As Portland undertakes the most substantial shift in its governing structure since its inception, ensuring transparency at the city level is crucial. There will be more commissioners and increased turnover, with new officials taking on new roles. More importantly, more centralized government can allow for control over information at the expense of the public's right to know about their government. Our members covering city manager forms of government often encounter failures to uphold the Oregon legislature's intent in passing the state's public meetings and record laws. We feel strongly that Portland should avoid that pitfall. Transparency Advocate would help ensure that the public, the new council, the mayor, and city administrator all are working with the same information to ensure the best decisions are made. Giving voters the option to approve an office of the Transparency Advocate is an important democratic step to improving public trust and setting the new system of government up for success. The elected auditor is charged with ensuring an open and accountable government in which public information is accessible. For that reason, it's appropriate that the auditor oversee the refinement of the proposal so it can be referred to voters. Thank you for your time.
Next up, we have Maria Sipin.
Hello, Council and people of Portland. My name is Maria Sippin, they or she pronouns. I've supported Measure 26228 and the work of the Charter Commission. I'm a community organizer and board member for Participatory Budgeting Oregon, working on Youth Voice, Youth Vote for COVID recovery projects. The first participatory budgeting process in Oregon, happening now in Senate Districts 24 and 25, which is East Portland, East Multnomah County, and Clackamas County. I also serve on the Portland Clean Energy Fund Committee. Participatory budgeting gives the people some power over only a portion of the budget, and I support the addition of participatory budgeting in the Portland Charter, along with other Portlanders who've been urging for this in the last 5 years to take a major step in transparent decision-making. I urge City Council to refer PB, Charter Amendment, to voters. We're learning, like cities like Boston and its recent adoption by voters in 2021, how powerful this is. If Boston can do it, Portland can too. I'm proud of the city of Portland for leading the charge with climate action through programs like PSEF and sharing power with community members, and now developing the climate investment plan. PB citywide and in city programs can continue to advance equity, racial justice, and responsive investments. PB is a way to demonstrate strong commitment to transparent and accountable budgeting in the city, prioritizing more responsive climate, safety, and public works projects, and engaging people in this process who've been excluded or not as informed in the past. Bureaus across the city can apply it and can implement it with support and resources to do it well. I look forward to working with you on all this. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Next up, we have Lynn Davis.
Hi, thank you. My name is Lynn Davis. I live in Southeast. I'm a director at Healthy Democracy, a democracy innovation nonprofit based here in Portland, but working nationally. There is a crisis in democracy as a concept across the political spectrum in the United States and in institutions at every level of government. We see several elements of this crisis. Most of us don't see ourselves in our democracy. There's a chronic lack of representation at every scale. We also see government as an entity rather than as a tool that we can all use. And we don't see that our democratic systems trust us to make truly meaningful contributions. We know of only two key game-changing innovations that we believe are transformative on all three of these. One is what we do, assemblies of everyday people selected by democratic lottery, advising on the toughest policy questions. The other is participatory budgeting, with the unique power of the purse. First, both of these bring new voices to the table like no other democratic reform we know of. Second, these processes create spaces for unusually deep deliberation where people learn about the ins and outs of policymaking and engage in tough trade-offs. They reimagine government as a tool that we can all use. Finally, they build new mutual trust that's necessary for a thriving democratic system. Building trust in any relationship is a two-way street. No one can expect to receive trust unless trust is also given. What's a better indicator of mutual trust and respect than delegating actual decision-making power over actual dollars to everyday people? Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Next up, we have Alexis Moyer, followed by Shonda Evans and Ben Stevenson. Alexis Moyer. Doesn't look like they're here. Let's go to Shonda Evans.
Good afternoon. My name is Shonda Evans. I'm here to advocate for participatory budgeting to be included in the Portland City Charter. Today, I speak on behalf of PB Oregon, where I've been a volunteer advocate for over 4 years. As someone who has participated in the PB process, both as a voter and as a delegate, I understand the real impact that grassroots democracy can have in a community. I hope that Portland will look to our sister cities of Boston and New York City as examples of success, including PB in their own city charters. PB can uplift and highlight what policymakers might not see and help break down barriers with a focus on equity, inclusion, and access in education, in arts and culture, in climate justice, in safety and transportation. PB also provides opportunities to illuminate struggles that some of our most vulnerable and marginalized residents face and create a sense of belonging through active civic participation. PB puts the power in the hands of the people to effect real change based on community designs which bring us together to work to create a more viable and engaged civic process. Youth learn firsthand the importance of voting and see the fruits of their labors through the entire PB process. I urge you to look at New York City and Boston, whose residents overwhelmingly supported PB in their city charters. Real change is happening in these cities. Millions of residents are benefiting from PB. Portland, it's time to bring PB to the people. We cannot call ourselves progressive without including the voice of the people. Please vote in favor of including PB in the Portland City Charter. Thank you.
Thank you,
Next
Shonda.
up, we have Ben Stevenson.
Ben, welcome. Just so you know, I don't think you were here when we mentioned it's 2 minutes, and then you get to wrap it up. If you were at home doing it virtual, like, you'd be muted at 2:20. So to be fair, I'll kind of tell you to wrap up at 2:20.
Okay.
I didn't take any of your time away when you started. Clock begins.
Okay. Thank you, and good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Ben Stevenson. I'm a student at Cleveland High School, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Sunrise Movement. I urge you to strengthen the climate commitment from Proposal 2 and send it to voters. Sunrise shared our changes to Proposal 2 with each of you. We want this charter climate language to be the empowering and legally defensible tool you all need to meaningfully combat climate chaos. We have 2 essential requests. First, revise the fossil fuel phase-out commitment to specifically empower you to prevent fossil fuel expansion. In line with previous resolutions passed unanimously by this council, a strengthened Proposal 2 would protect Portland from lawsuits by fossil fuel corporations. You have the public and political backing to build a renewable economy. Amend Proposal 2 so you have the legal backing too. Second, strengthen Proposal 2 to stand up for environmental justice. Our climate commitment creates affirmative obligations for you to truly remedy past harms and prevent future ones, giving weight to Resolution 37289. While making environmental justice a core value is a start, you have the precedent and the moral imperative to refer a proposal that protects Portlanders from pollution and prevents injustice. So, Commissioner Rubio, Commissioner Mapps, Commissioner Gonzalez, Commissioner Ryan, follow the lead of your predecessors. Follow the lead of cities nationwide, from Houston to Honolulu, who have taken climate action and put it into their charters where it belongs. Seize this opportunity to cement your legacy as climate champions and to cement Portland's legacy as an environmental leader. Strengthen the climate commitment, send it to voters, and pass participatory budgeting as well. My generation is watching, and I'm 18, and many others are as well, so we'll be voting accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for being here.
Next up, we have Babs Vanelli, followed by Chris Palmer and Eric Lee.
Hi.
Go ahead,
Hi,
Babs.
Babs. I can hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Babs Vanelli, and I've lived in Portland all of my now 74 and a half years. I'm passionate about saving the planet, and that passion spans generation. The young man you just heard from is a senior in high school, and I am also a senior. I want to take you back for a moment to the 70s, the early stages of the environmental movement. Under the leadership of Governor Tom McCall, Mayor Neil Goldschmidt, Bud Clark, and Vera Katz, Portland was a shining light in that movement, culminating with the development of the light rail system in 1986. Fast forward to now, you all have an opportunity to let Portland be a shining light again. You all received emails last week from Sunrise PDX, from 350 PDX, and from Peace. All the information that you need was in those emails. So I'm here to add my voice to encourage you to act. Finally, I want you to consider for a moment your legacy. Ben just mentioned legacy. I want you specifically to think about the legacy that you want to pass on to your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. I know in my heart and soul that your grandchildren will be so proud when they learn that you helped to save the planet for them to enjoy. Thank you all for the work you are doing.
Next up, we have Chris Palmer.
Hi, welcome.
My name is Chris Palmer. I am the volunteer manager for 350 PDX. So the world is in a climate emergency. I'm really grateful that we've taken this once-in-a-decade opportunity to make the changes we need to be able to better tackle this issue, namely in changing our city charter. I hope we can keep going just a little further to make the best of this opportunity. So 350 PDX, Peace, and the Sunrise Movement sent a letter to City Council last week with our recommended proposals and amendments, and others here have elaborated more specifically on them. I wanted to come here and testify mainly to show my support and ask that you approve these changes and send to voters, but also to share why I care about this issue. In the Brooklyn neighborhood, a group of us neighbors has started meeting to get to know each other better, so that when the next climate disaster inevitably strikes, we're better prepared to look after each other. Sheltering each other from heat, smoke, cold, power outages, as well as sharing tools and just building community so that we are more resilient in these emergency moments and every moment in between. Efforts like this can go a long way in a climate emergency, but what we need from you is to pass the systemic changes so that climate emergencies are less likely, and when they happen, the city is better prepared to step up. That's one of the things that including environmental justice in every city decision will do. We don't have 10 more years to wait. People for the next 100 years will look back on the elected officials of this decade and marvel at how we turned the ship around or despair that we didn't do enough. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Eric Lee. Is Eric Lee here? Okay, let's move on to Diane Meisenhelter, followed by Guy Berliner and Matt Stevenson.
Ready? Diane Meisenhelter with XRPDX, and we're asking City Council to amend the fossil fuel phase-out language with the binding language, the specific binding language proposed by Sunrise, and refer this to the voters. On a regular basis, I motor mouth my way through countless arguments and facts, trying to appeal to reason in the face of climate crisis within an allotted 2 minutes. Today, I want to appeal more to your hearts. You have loved ones you care about the city, the world, and its peoples, and you care about your legacy while juggling multiple growing crises. And you hold strong personal values and attempt to do the right thing. The right thing here is to pass this language put forward by the youth of our community, who along with our most vulnerable populations will be the most affected by this decision. In your initial climate emergency declaration, you claimed you would follow the youth as one of the primary stakeholders. Time and again, you have the right words on paper, but city actions are not happening at a rate and in the way that needed to reach your own stated goals and what the climate science demands in this growing emergency. We all need this. We need it for our community's true health and safety, for the critical economic transition that will create good jobs in clean energy and green infrastructure. We need it for accountability and climate justice. You need it for the same reasons and more. You need it to take off some of the pressure by legally guiding decisions towards your stated goals. You need it as a buffer by special interests, when special interests try to take things off course. Knowing it is binding, community groups and individuals could then devote our energies towards working alongside you in the Herculean task to create this critical transition and get us to where we need to be in the short time frame facing us all. The plaza at the Metro Building is in honor of my late husband, and his art dedication there says it all. Know the right thing and do the right thing. At this point in time, we need your courage to take this step, this right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Next up, we have Guy Berliner.
Thank you, members of the council. My name is Guy Berliner, and I'm here to echo the calls by Sunrise Movement and others for a participatory budgeting proposal to be included in the phase 2 of the charter, and for climate resiliency to be incorporated directly in the charter with concrete measures. In his essay on To This Last, philosopher John Ruskin held up the example of the Roman general and national hero Valerius Publicola, who was born rich but died penniless after spending his fortune defending his country against repeated military plots by rich oligarchs. Ruskin says that his epitaph, De publico elatus est, his funeral honors were paid at public expense, ought not to be a dishonorable one for either the high or low born. Now, although each of us can opt in favor of ephemeral glamour and public respectability, but ultimately atmospheric CO2 will tell the real story of what we've been up to, even 10,000 years hence. So the real questions before us are whether we will opt for, the real question is whether the opulent will relax their death grips on wealth and power in favor of the well-being of the majority of all people, including all future generations. So, thank you.
Thank you, Guy.
Next up, we have Matt Stevenson.
Hello, I'm Matt Stevenson. I'm currently a student at Cleveland High School. First of all, I would like to thank the city for all of its past work and past resolutions on addressing the climate crisis. And I urge the city to pass a binding fossil fuel phase-out policy to add power and teeth to these values and resolutions that would help move Portland towards phasing out fossil fuels and give the city power to move towards a clean, renewable future. This is a tried and tested method that has worked in countless cities across America, from New York to Boston to Houston, and we know that this will be successful in Portland as well. And it is essential that the city council today refers a binding fossil fuel phase-out policy to voters, as the climate crisis is here. We have already felt its impacts in Oregon from wildfires every year, draping our valleys and cities in toxic smoke. I remember when family members of mine had to fear for their health and safety because of this toxic smoke. We know it because of drought in South Oregon. We know it because of abnormal weather and natural disasters. And we need more city action. We need this binding fossil fuel phase out, and we cannot wait 10 years. We cannot wait for this problem to continue to get worse. Furthermore, this policy has broad public support. Hundreds of comments were submitted in favor of this policy to the city charter, and 3/4 of all testimony to the City Charter Commission was in favor of this policy. Additionally, a letter was sent to the City Charter Commission signed on by over 10 organizations. So we see that this policy is supported by Portlanders. So I urge you to refer the binding fossil fuel phase out to voters, to give people a say on this issue, to act now on the climate crisis, and to give power to the values and resolutions that the city already holds. Thank you.
Next up, we have Myung Oh, followed by Jeff Kleen and Jenna Kane.
Hi, everyone. My name is Myung Oh, and I'm a mental health provider and sit on the board of my neighborhood association. I've lived in Portland for over 20 years, and I'm not someone who would normally choose to share my thoughts with a large group of people, but I'm told that this is how hearts and minds could be changed. So that's why I'm here. I know that you've already received many written recommendations from organizations like 350 PDX, Sunrise PDX, and Peace regarding changes to the city charter, so I won't repeat the same things. Instead, I'd like to share why I think it is of utmost importance that you prioritize climate justice and use it as a framework in every decision you make. As a person who immigrated to the US from Korea and someone who has traveled extensively, I have always noticed how all of us humans are far more similar than different, despite what some people want us to believe. We all feel happier when we can breathe clean air, eat something tasty, and hang out with people who help us feel like we belong. And we all feel the same anger and fear when we see that the selfish and thoughtless actions of some leave us feeling unsafe. Now more than ever, the choices we make right here in our city will not only impact Oregonians, but all living things on this planet. As you know, the worst impact is often on the people and beings that have little to no agency over what happens to them, like children living now and especially the children of the future. But remember that suffering feels the same for all of us. As an introvert, I was disappointed to realize that my individual actions will never be enough to stop the climate crisis. but I know that collectively we can have greater impact if we take swift action. This is why I have begun gathering with my neighbors on a weekly basis to create change together and as a way to remind ourselves that we are not alone. I ask you to be courageous and make choices that will allow us all to enjoy a livable planet. May we be safe, may we be healthy, may we be happy, may we live with ease. May it be so. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jeff Kleen.
Hi, thanks for allowing me to testify. My name is Jeff Kleen, and I live in Southeast Portland. My full-time work addresses poverty and hunger through policy change. My volunteer time is spent on climate justice efforts in my neighborhood. My neighbors and I are learning about climate change and how to support each other all of the time, but especially during severe weather events and other emergencies. I've always been concerned about the environment, but quite frankly, I was focused on ending poverty and hunger and raising 2 children, and thought others would take care of the climate. Now, years later, I've come to recognize that it's the responsibility of all of us to focus on climate change. And that was really made painfully clear when we were stuck in our homes because of wildfire smoke in 2020, and when more than 70 people died during the summer heat dome in 2021, when temperatures reached 116 degrees in Portland, 9 degrees hotter than the previous record. 116 degrees. That got my attention. Now, individual actions are great, but in terms of their impact, they pale in comparison to the impact public policy can have. That's what motivates my professional work and what led me to testify today. I know you've received information from 350 PDX, Sunrise PDX, and Peace about recommended changes to the city charter. I support those changes and urge you to send them to the voters. What I want to emphasize is how critical this opportunity is and how important it is for you and every level of government to take all possible actions to support climate justice. The truth remains, we must all act on behalf of our planet, ourselves, our children, and future generations. Time is running out. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jenna Kane.
Dear honorable city council members and the city charter commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jennifer Cho Kane, and I am a volunteer with 350 PDX. I would like to speak about the charter process and the recommendations by this charter commission, in particular proposal number 2 in their final report. A group of us worked hard to include amendments to the version that was drafted by the city attorney's office that would ensure that the climate commitment would not be in name only, but would be actionable and accountable in addressing the climate crisis at the level and the scale that is needed. The changes would give the city the powers to hold industries accountable and unify the bureaus to work towards the public good, a livable planet and protection of our green spaces, and expanding access to nature, especially for communities that have been adversely affected by policies in the past. We have an opportunity before us that comes once every decade. The pressures that the Charter Commission has had to fix innumerable problems that have been decades in the making is not lost on us advocates. That is why we are appealing to you, the City Council, to take this opportunity to revise and strengthen the proposed charter climate commitment with our recommended changes, and to add provisions to ensure participatory budgeting to help address some of the most pressing concerns that we collectively face. Responding to the climate crisis gives an opportunity to the city to right wrongs and building a firm foundation that works for all of us. To that end, I recommend robust, actionable, and thoughtful provisions to strengthen the climate commitment, particularly through the work of 350 PDX, Sunrise and Peace, and recommending and establishing a citywide participatory budgeting process. establishing the Office of Transparency, as well as establishing a meaningful public engagement and expanding the right to vote. The climate crisis is here, and we are running out of time. It is not too late. There are things that we can do, and we must do them. Thank you so much for your time.
Next up, we have Virginia Wiltshire Gordon, followed by Dylan Plummer and Carol Y.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, City Council. My name is Virginia Wiltshire Gordon, and I've lived and worked in Portland for the last 6 years. I'm here today with Sunrise PDX to support Proposal 2 for climate justice and Proposal 4, participatory budgeting, and ask that you refer both of these proposals by strengthening them and refer them to voters. As a young person, I've grown up knowing that climate change would shape my future. I didn't have the luxury of imagining a future, my career, my family, without the realities of heat waves and extreme cold, of flooding and fires and smoke. I know I don't have to explain the climate emergency to you as council because you've been taking action and also you live here. So I know you've felt these impacts, you've breathed the smoke and you've felt the heat. This is an emergency and we have no time to waste. City Council has recently passed a number of resolutions that have been trying to take action on this climate emergency, and we truly appreciate that. I believe that the city charter should reflect these values as well. We have a chance to codify these important things and build the just transition to climate resilient communities and including a fossil fuel phase out. This is a chance to give force to the policy commitments that have already been made by you, City Council, and are supported by the community. Other cities are taking steps and we should join them. Cities like Boston have environmental rights included in their charter. Houston, Texas has provisions that limit greenhouse gas emissions. New York City has passed a law phasing out fossil fuels in buildings just this past year. And Ithaca, New York, in 2021, committed to 100% decarbonization as a city. This is an opportunity for Portland to join the momentum in recognition of the emergency we're facing. The language should be in the spirit of actual accountability and remedying the real and unacceptable experiences of Portland's residents who experience disproportionate environmental burdens, especially because of their identities. A fossil fuel phase out allows city decision-making, policy, and funding to be legally defensible. And I think I noticed on Portland's website in our climate action section, it says right at the top, legacy of leadership. I encourage you to continue this legacy through strengthening the proposals 2 and 4 and referring those to voters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Virginia.
Next up, we have Dylan Plummer.
Commissioner Maps, Ryan, Gonzalez, and Rubio, thank you for this opportunity to testify. My name is Dylan Plummer, and I'm a senior campaign representative with the Sierra Club. On behalf of thousands of members and supporters in Portland and the tens of thousands of members and supporters across the state of Oregon, I urge you to amend fossil fuel phase-out language to prevent the expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure and ensure that the city undertakes a decline of fossil fuels to net zero. Then please vote to refer this language directly to voters. Climate change is here right now. Our state is increasingly experiencing extreme heat waves, wildfires, and floods, and these impacts will only worsen if we do not take action now. In the face of this crisis, it is critical for local governments to lead the charge to transition off of the use of fossil fuels and to renewable electricity as quickly as possible. Thankfully, many cities and local governments are doing just this and are passing progressive climate policy in Oregon and around the country. The Sierra Club strongly believes that including fossil fuel phase-out language to transition off these polluting fuels is a strong step to reducing emissions, protecting community health and safety, and addressing disproportionate impacts of fossil fuels and other polluting industries on BIPOC and low-income residents and meeting the city's climate targets. As such, I urge you to amend the language to prevent the expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure and ensure a decline off of fossil fuels to net zero, and to refer this language directly to voters. Thank you for your consideration.
Next up, we have Carol Y. Carol, you're muted. There we go.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Carol Way. I am a first-generation Burmese-Karen immigrant and graduate of the Portland State University Honors College, and nearly a lifelong Oregonian after my family moved to Portland in 1998 from the military-oppressed nation of Burma. To even participate in this meeting today is such an honor for me, just considering that the voices of my immigrant and refugee community have historically been neglected. And to go from being treated like an option on the menu to feeling through participatory budgeting like we can be seated with decision makers at this table ourselves and not just through a medium is so empowering. Today, I am here to urge the council to refer a charter amendment to the voters that would establish participatory budgeting as a permanent part of public budgeting in Portland. I'm also a member of the Youth Voice Youth Vote Steering Committee, and I've been working with 11 other passionate youth from diverse backgrounds to design the first participatory budgeting process in Oregon. Through this work, I've not only gotten to learn about PB, but actively engage youth, especially youth from historically marginalized communities, to give input on what they would like to see in the places that they live, learn, pray, or play in. It's been an honor to share about PB as a longstanding process in other parts of the world, and now having made its way to Oregon, to Portland rather, to empower our youth with a real opportunity to make real decisions over real budgets and in real time. What better way to empower the people in our city than to support a process which champions them? And Youth Voice, Youth Vote is only the beginning of PB in our communities. There's a need to institutionalize PB so all communities across Portland can make decisions about public dollars in ways that meet their needs. There's a lot of data to support PB, but I don't just need peer-reviewed research to tell me that. I've lived it and I've experienced it, and participatory budgeting is a way to deepen and diversify our community and our democracy in our community. It's not here to replace any council. It's not here to replace any counselors or anything. It's a way to, be an extension of democracy in our communities. And I'm so proud of that. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Robin Hanel, followed by Karen Wolfgang and Mari Han.
Let's go ahead and do Robin and then take a 5-minute break. Okay.
My name is Robin Hanel. I've lived in Portland for the past 16 years. I'm an economics professor. I'm professor emeritus at American University in Washington, D.C., and have been a visiting professor at Lewis and Clark, Portland State, and Willamette University here in Oregon over the past 16 years. My specialty as an economist for over 40 years has been how to make economic decision-making more democratic and participatory. I'm co-creator of an economic model known widely as a participatory economy, but I've also studied and worked with people who designed and implemented participatory budgeting in Kerala, India, in Porto Alegre, Brazil, dating back to the 1990s. I consulted with the planning ministry in Venezuela in 2006 and 2007 about how newly created popular neighborhood assemblies could best carry out participatory budgeting there. As chief of staff for the president of the Boston City Council, my son-in-law wrote the enabling legislation for their participatory budgeting initiative. So I'm well informed about what is going on in Boston, where they are roughly 2 years ahead of us here in Portland on the road to implementing participatory budgeting. I am delighted that Portland is considering embracing participatory budgeting. Portland has long been known for our citizen activism. But like young people in many U.S. cities, young people here are also demanding to become more involved in how the city spends its money. And as a homeowner and taxpayer, I know that many older residents want greater accountability for how our property taxes are spent before we are willing to increase them. Participatory budgeting can address deep-felt desires and concerns of both younger and older Portland residents. I urge you to launch that experiment here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. 5-minute break. Okay. And session is now back live. Thanks, Keelan. And thank you all for your patience, those who are testifying. Go ahead and call the next three, please.
Okay. Thank you. Next up, we have Karen Wolfgang, followed by Mari Han. Is Karen here? No. Okay, let's go to Mari Han.
Hi there. My name is Mari Han, and I live in Southeast Portland. I'm a volunteer with 350 PDX, and I am in learning mode. I am learning how the heat wave in June 2021 impacted people in Lentz much differently than people in my very heavily treed neighborhood of Eastmoreland. I'm learning how last July, a gigantic heritage red oak tree about 1 block from my house, my favorite tree to walk by with my dogs, lost a huge limb and had to be taken down. The whole neighborhood lost power for 2 days, and the cause? Extreme heat. I've only lived in Portland for 2 years. I moved here from Indiana in late September 2020. In fact, we had to delay our move date due to the devastating wildfires all over the West and the smoke and horrific air quality in Portland. I moved here because I want to live in a place where the climate crisis is taken seriously. I want to live in a place with old growth forests. I want to live in a place where people value getting out in nature for an urban hike. I want to live where people are taking action on climate justice issues. Portland is all of these things, and I'm very grateful to be here. We know this climate crisis is real, and it is upon us. I encourage you to adopt the strongest and most actionable language that we can to move forward into the future. The language changes proposed by 350 PDX, Sunrise, and Peace emailed last week make this possible, and not just possible, but important and mandatory that Portland City government take the steps to lead us into the future with a healthy and vibrant city and people. This is the time to take action. Thank you.
Next up, we have Emily Harris, followed by Pat Kazmarek and Heather E. Keller.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily Harris. I am here today representing Open Oregon. Open Oregon is a nonprofit with a single mission. We're here to help all Oregonians understand and exercise their rights and responsibilities under our public meeting and public records laws. We're made up of people who come to this from all perspectives: government officials, records professionals, journalists, good governance advocates, technology experts, and so on. We joined with the ACLU of Oregon, the League of Women Voters of Portland, and the Society of Professional Journalists to propose an impartial and independent transparency advocate for Portland. We heard during Charter Commission testimony from a number of other supporters as well. We heard from environmental organizations and fair election advocates, plus a handful of people who are just tired of the city erring on the side of secrecy instead of on the side of openness. The overarching goal of this position would be to safeguard people's rights to access information about and to participate in their government. With Portland transitioning to a brand new form of government, the transparency advocate can play a very helpful role. People say all the time that transparency is a cornerstone of democracy, but we don't always stop to think about how building that kind of culture actually happens. It is forward-thinking commitments like this that move government from stating transparency as a value to actually governing that way. Other cities such as Atlanta and Toronto, which have created similar positions, have found it also increases trust, which is another vital element for democracy to thrive. We are grateful that the Commission voted to forward this proposal, and we appreciate their desire that this language be fine-tuned before referring it on to voters. Since then, our original coalition has learned that the city auditor is willing to oversee the vetting and the fine-tuning necessary to finalize the concept so the council can refer it to voters. We appreciate your work on this. We really appreciate the work of the Charter Commission and the willingness of the auditor to work to make this proposal a reality. We believe it will benefit everyone in Portland, and we're happy to be a resource for all of you moving this forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emily. Welcome, Pat.
Next up, we have Pat Kazmarek.
Portland City Councilors and City Charter Commissioners. My name is Pat Kaczmarek, and I'm a 30-year resident of Portland and have been active in environmental protection and restoration organizations for many years. Portland has been a leader in forward-thinking initiatives that reduce environmental damage. Examples include early and ongoing support for light rail, developing energy-efficient buildings, and expanding bike lanes. To ensure that these efforts continue into an uncertain future, including climate protections and climate justice in our city charter, is crucial. We need to ensure that our charter goes further than stating that environmental justice is a core value. It needs to be a binding policy of the City of Portland to advance environmental justice to the greatest extent practicable and permitted by law. By 2026, the city must not only assess the climate impact of its decisions, but exert its authority to remedy those impacts. The city must state clearly that it has the authority to manage all manner of fossil fuels and actively undertake reductions and prevent the expansion of fossil fuel transport, manufacture, infrastructure, storage, and use to achieve net zero. The city must state clearly that it has and exercises its power to regulate waste, including solid, liquid, and air waste, and all climate-harming pollutants. The city must develop a participatory budgeting process that is inclusive of all community members to help decide how to spend city budget through binding decisions or vote that leads to government action. We cannot wait longer to implement significant change. The city must provide public education on the risks of climate change for both our adult population and in our schools. The city must encourage an active participation by citizens in conserving energy and reducing the use of fossil fuels.
You about finished, Pat? You're a little over time.
I am. We need cohesive and ongoing leadership in the city of Portland to ensure that we urgently pursue solutions and implement actions to protect all we can.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Heather E. Keller.
Hello, my name is Heather Eichler, and I'm a volunteer with 350 PDX. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this very important matter today. I'm here in support of the letter that 350 PDX, Sunrise, and Peace recently sent to City Council regarding climate justice and resiliency measures in Phase 2 of our city charter reform. I moved to Portland in 1976. I went to high school and college and raised my son here. It's always felt like home to me, and I hope to continue living here for the rest of my life in Portland. I would like to express my gratitude to the members of the Charter Commission who gave so much of their time, effort, and care to craft ballot measure 26228, and the Portlanders who voted to pass it. This work will go far towards making Portland a functioning city I can live in into old age, but we need to do more as a city, and we need to do it now, not in 10 years from now. The disastrous effects of climate change are happening in the present and will only be creating more chaos going forward. 2021's lethal heat dome provided a very clear and frightening example of the reality of what we will be dealing with in the coming decade and beyond. Phase 2 of our charter reform must meaningfully and vigorously address the challenges we are facing from climate change and climate chaos. This is why I urge you to adopt the proposals and amendments outlined in the letter 350 PDX, Peace, and Sunrise PDX sent City Council last week. Again, thank you for the opportunity to submit my testimony today.
Next up, we have Blanca Gaetan Farfan, followed by Kaz Swank and Kimber Filippo. Is Blanca here? How about Kaz? Kaz Swank? Okay, let's move on to Kimber Filippo. Kimber, you're muted.
All right. Is that better?
Yes, we can hear you, Kimber.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, councilors and commissioners. My name is Kimber Filippo. I'm a concerned Portland resident, an AMI-trained Montessori primary teacher, the mother of 4 adult children and grandmother of 2. My passion is advocating on behalf of all children. Originally from Arizona, my family and I have lived in the Portland metro area since 2003. I'm testifying today to urge you that the time is now, right now, to comprehensively address the Earth's and our city's most pressing issue, climate change, without leaving anyone behind. Environmental justice is the framework that can enable our city to rise to meet this moment and correct systemic problems that worsen inequities. The climate change crisis is here. We have harmed and neglected our planet with little action taken to reverse the damage for long enough. Catastrophic weather due to global warming is now the norm. How many lives will be lost before we take the action necessary to make a difference going forward? I don't want my grown children, their children, nor all future children to face a worse climate crisis than what faces us today. To make up for lost time, we must take drastic actions now. Last spring, I became a 350pdx.org volunteer. Our Southeast Portland, Brooklyn neighborhood residents meet regularly to be a part of climate change and climate justice solutions. We get together to help protect each other and to advocate for action around climate change and climate justice. Our members feel a strong sense of urgency about these issues, and I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we expect to see this urgency and commitment mirrored in our elected city officials. To know that we could have prevented the changes that have already happened if we had acted years ago, instead of waiting until it's almost too late, is beyond troubling to me. The terrifying reality I have learned is that Earth may survive our wrongs. Its inhabitants will not be so fortunate. So what we need now is immediate action. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Next up, we have Marissa Morby, followed by Danielle Maillard and Liam Castles.
Hello. My name is Marissa Morby. Thank you for having me here today and for all the work that you are doing. I'm a member of the community here in Southeast Portland and a volunteer for 350PDX. 350PDX, Sunrise PDX, and Peace sent letters to City Council last week with recommended proposals and amendments, and today I wanted to testify to show my support for those letters and ask that you approve these changes and send them to voters. I care about these issues because we're currently in a climate crisis, and I see how all of us have growing fear each year from dangerous heat waves, ice storms, and increased wildfires. And I know that everyone in our community and throughout the world is afraid of what this means for our future, but the simple truth is that we're out of time for deliberation. We have to take action now. We need your help to pass necessary systemic change so that we are prepared to address these climate emergencies. We need your help so that the city is focused on proactive environmental justice. Your positions on the City Council allow you the power to make these changes and move them forward. Each of you is in a pivotal moment of our city and our climate history. With your help, we can move these important climate initiatives forward. I know it feels overwhelming, but each step we take toward climate justice is one made in the right direction. We only have one home and we must act now. Thank you for your time.
Next up, we have Danielle Maillard.
My name is Danielle Meyer, and I'm a volunteer with Sunrise PDX and Participatory Budgeting Oregon. I'm here to urge you to strengthen the climate commitment in Proposal 2 to include fossil fuel phase-out language and to pass the climate and participatory budgeting amendment to the voters. In regards to strengthening the environmental justice language that's now part of Proposal 2, I want to note that the city has already embraced a transition away from fossil fuels in existing city resolutions, including 37168 in 2014, 37289 in 2017, 37494 in 2020, which were all unanimously adopted with overwhelming public support. And why we care about this being in the charter specifically is that it's a way to upgrade non-binding city policy into binding policy, and we want the voters to have the ability to make that happen. In regards to both the Strength and Environmental Justice Amendment and the PB Amendment, I hope you enact your leadership today by giving the people of Portland the opportunity to vote on such things. I work in East Portland with the pedestrian advocacy nonprofit Oregon Walks, and during the charter review process, East Portlanders made up only 5% of the public commenter demographic, despite making up 24% of the entire Portland region. Participatory budgeting in particular was born out of the idea to fully engage people in decision-making and elevate the voices that are left out in spaces like the charter review. I hope today you can take a step in making sure East Portland voices are at the table. Commissioner Mapps, I know you have ties to Park Rose. I do as well, and much of my organizing recently has been with community members that feel hopeless in the face of expansive fossil fuel infrastructure popping up left and right in their homes. Companies like Prologis are building warehouse after warehouse in a district that already suffers poor air quality and increased rates of childhood asthma. Imagine if tomorrow you could say to your supporters, I know so much of this is out of my control, but I'm actively doing what I can to demand that Park Rose residents have a voice and ability to create the community we want to live in. If you can all get excited about the idea of referring these extremely pertinent and timely amendments, and we look forward to seeing them on a 2024 ballot. Thank you.
Next up is Liam Castles.
Commissioners, my name is Liam Castles. I'm 18. I use he, they pronouns. I also organize with Sunrise, but I'm here right now to represent Portland Youth Climate Strike, a collective of youth from across Portland working to make climate change an urgent priority in city and state politics. I'm here to speak in support of Proposal 2, adding a climate commitment to the city charter. Usually, if I'm testifying or talking with officials or other organizers, I tell them about the bad things happening in Portland. I talk about the risk of large-scale oil explosions, the health effects of gas in homes. I tell them about greenwashing. I tell them I'm terrified for my future. I'm not here to talk about that. Instead, I want to paint a version of the future. I want you to imagine a Portland with an electric public transportation system that's as fast or faster than a car. I want you to imagine a Portland with a green canopy across the city. I want you to imagine a Portland that is powered on solar, where you can and want to walk across the city, where there is equitable housing and enough money for it. I want you to imagine a Portland with stretches of park across it, like Tom McCall Waterfront Park, a Portland with an excess of green jobs, a Portland that has community gardens and community centers and effective community-based disaster relief, a Portland that is ultimately centered on its communities and its people. I talk about this Portland because it's the Portland I personally want to help create. And I talk about this Portland now because in my journey as an organizer, this is one of the first opportunities I've had to actually help build it rather than try to prevent the opposite. The alternative is scary, right? Thick smoke every summer, heat waves that kill, and pollution that primarily hurts our most vulnerable community members, all of which will eventually reach everyone. This future is what my generation is terrified of, but you have the power to choose differently. I want you to look me in the eyes and tell me you will protect my future. Because you can build that first future, and the next step is to include a binding fossil fuel phase-out in the city charter. As an individual who is afraid for my future and in representing Portland Youth Climate Strike, I ask you directly, strengthen Proposal 2 to include a binding fossil fuel phase-out and refer it to voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam.
Next up, we have Suhani Kapalu, followed by Christiana De Leon and Mirabai Peart.
Hi, my name is Suhani Kapalu. I am 18 years old and a member of the Portland Youth Climate Strike policy team. Growing up in the Pacific Northwest, the outdoors were like my second home. I was used to the never-ending expanses of evergreen trees, and I'd spend my summers hiking up waterfall trails and rafting along rivers. As I've gotten older, the wildfires, which were previously infrequent blips, became an annual occurrence. The months of August and September were spent in a red, cloudy haze. Forests that had been through just years before were charred and fenced off. It is heartbreaking to see my home in this state. Our forest shouldn't be burning. It shouldn't be a hazard to exit our house. People are dying because of the heat, because our world's leaders are not doing enough to combat climate change. Now's the time for politicians and our government to step up as leaders of our community and to say that enough is enough. The climate justice issue isn't going away, and it is our responsibility to do more, to take action, to advocate, to hold corporations accountable, and to listen. Youth and climate organizations have been speaking for years, only to be ignored. Thousands of us walk out and skip school to make our voices heard. We yell chants, we express our demands, we call out climate villains. We are fighting for our planet. Now's the time for our government to start listening and ensure they prioritize the public's values, to take the time to listen to the community and emphasize public engagement, to reduce the barriers associated with voting. They have the power to listen, and that is something for years they've avoided. But now is the time to realize that we have things to say and our government is there to elevate our voices. It's time for the City of Portland to prioritize environmental justice when it comes to making decisions, to understand the impact of every freeway expansion, of every climate villain we turned a blind eye to factor in the climate impact for every single decision. The climate crisis isn't going away, but we can do our part to mitigate its impact. Today, I ask you to strengthen the climate commitment in Proposal 2 to include fossil fuel phase-out language and refer it to voters. Thank you.
Next up, we have Christiana De Leon.
Good afternoon. My name is Cristania De Leon. I serve as a co-executive director with the Participatory Budgeting Project, and I'm here as a national content expert on participatory budgeting, or PB, as your constituents urge you to send a PB charter amendment to your voters. In holding our national perspective around PB, we are seeing an incredible growth of PB across the United States. It is a proven, effective, and impactful process. Along the West Coast of the United States alone, just in 2022, we supported and saw active processes in Los Angeles, Marin County, Sacramento, Seattle, 5 unincorporated areas of King County and Washington run simultaneously, and a whole range of municipalities, all alongside ongoing calls for even more participatory budgeting and even larger investments. Portland is no different when it comes to having everything needed to run and sustain quality PB in your communities, and in fact is ahead of the curve with Youth Voice, Youth Vote as a seated and established pilot process, and the benefit of learning from and alongside a broad network of municipalities also implementing PB as well. In instances where participatory budgeting measures have been brought to voters in cities like Boston and New York, they've been incredibly popular and have passed with over 2/3 voters in support. Furthermore, the example of Boston, which has come up a couple of times, is notable. They initially introduced participatory budgeting as a youth-focused process and are currently considering right now updated ordinance language to ensure all community members in the city, not just youth, can participate due to the success and its popularity in building trust, transparency, and facilitating equitable decision-making processes and outcomes. We're seeing cities like Oakland, California, Cleveland, Ohio, also moving to craft language, pushing them through their city councils and legislative bodies as a testament to how residents have advocated tirelessly for years to implement and protect their vision for PB. And again, in this regard, Portland has been exemplary, not only in this recent mobilizing to support this amendment, but for consistent calls by community for years to deepen, expand this practice. Your community is ready, and they deserve the opportunity to expand PB through the democratic process of putting this to your voters as well. We highly support your leadership in Portland and urge you to strongly consider their demands. Thank you so much.
Next up, we have Mirabai Peart.
Hello, my name is Mirabai Peart. I'm a board member of the Powellhurst-Gilbert Neighborhood Association in the diverse and lower socioeconomic area of the Southeast Portland. I'm here to show my support for the letter 350 PDX, Sunrise and Peace, sent proposing amendment consideration for the charter reform. Climate change is visibly altering our world. We are feeling the effects locally in our daily lives. I'm originally from Australia, and just before I moved to Portland 10 years ago, I lost my dad to a bushfire due to a freakishly dry, warm spring. I was relieved at the time to be moving here, a green place that didn't seem as susceptible to fires. I had no idea. Since then, being car-free and an avid cyclist, I've cycled through landscapes in this region so extensively devastated by catastrophic fires that they are unrecognizable. Through recent various extreme weather events, unbreathable forest fire smoke, ice storms, heat dome, I've become increasingly aware of how the issues that stand out clearly here in my neighborhood, those of poverty, public safety, infrastructure, housing, access to services, they all make families and communities way more vulnerable to the various effects of climate change. So I wholeheartedly support the language proposed by the letter for amendment consideration. It helps create a proposal that more truly speaks to the huge challenges we face together today. It empowers us to more thoroughly do justice to all our communities, including the currently underserved, by steering our city towards a more resilient and equitable future. It helps put the City of Portland on the right side of history at this crucial juncture. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for your time.
Next up, we have Ahmed Gaya, followed by Christopher Huggins and Tyler Gilmore.
Hello, my name is Ahmed Gaya. I'm a resident in the Vernon neighborhood in Northeast Portland. Like many folks here today, I'm here to speak in support of the environmental justice provisions in the Charter Commission's recommendations to Council to be adopted, and in support of the letters sent to Council by 350 Portland, Sunrise Portland, and Peace. Unlike some folks here, I'm not originally from Portland. I came out here to the Northwest about 12 years ago. And in that time, I feel I've built a really deep connection to this place. And last year, I was privileged enough to be able to buy a home here, and I look forward to hopefully living the rest of my life in this city. And when I think about the future and my family's future here in Portland, the climate crisis is definitely the thing that weighs most heavily on my mind. And the last few summers, obviously, I need to say, for innumerable folks in our city have really made aware how much it threatens our livability and move forward. And for thousands of Portlanders, more folks than ever are getting involved in climate action and are not responding with despair, but responding by taking consideration of environmental justice and climate in every small mundane decision that we make in our life. So that's talking to our neighbors about heat and fire, or upgrading our appliances, or coming here to City Council in our workday to testify about complicated and technical policy changes. And this charter amendment would ask the City Council to do exactly the same thing, to consider climate and environmental justice in every single one of the mundane, innumerable decisions that you make over the next decade. It's not the most glamorous or sweeping action in one stroke, but it is a critical component to the work of tackling the crisis, of considering it in everything that we do as we move forward. And we don't have another decade to wait to do this. So I really strongly encourage the Council to take the recommendations in those letters seriously and adopt them swiftly.
Next up, Christopher Huggins. Is Christopher here? No. Let's move on to Tyler Gilmore.
Hi. First of all, just thank you for the opportunity to testify. You all have very difficult and honorable jobs. Politics is how we organize ourselves as a community. And I appreciate your daily work into thoughtfully organizing us. My name is Tyler Gilmore, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a volunteer co-team lead for the 350 PDX Forest Defense Team. I've lived in the Portland metro area since I was around 2 years old and presently live in Southwest Portland. I'm a trail runner, rock climber, music lover, and someone who loves this place we all find ourselves in. I feel connected to my community simply by being alive. Every breath and action we take has a ripple effect that binds us to all others around us, other humans, trees, bears, birds, snails, flowers, berries, ferns, fish, and our own cat and dog friends in our homes. And I'm here today to support the proposed amendments. But humans need to recognize that the Earth will go on without us, as it has for millions of years. This is becoming an issue of human survival, not the planet's. We are in a climate emergency, and our conversations regarding the climate crisis no longer need to solely be future-oriented. They must involve the present. Portland already faces deadly consequences. 60 Portlanders and 50 people across the Northwest died during a single heat wave this June as we reached record-breaking temperatures of 116 degrees, with the majority of deaths clustered in lower-income, more racially diverse neighborhoods. These deadly consequences are not and will not be distributed equally, and will most heavily fall on communities that are burdened by unsafe or unstable housing, houselessness, pollution, and many other forms of environmental racism and injustice. And on that note, I wanted to say a quick thank you to Commissioner Rubio for your work on the urban forestry, and I encourage you to continue involving the community and making that equitable as well. The work you've done with the Portland Charter Commission is very much appreciated. And I encourage you to include robust, actionable, and thoughtful provisions dedicated to environmental issues that includes environmental justice as a core value of the city. Everything wants to live. May our decisions reflect this. Thank you.
Next up, we have Lynn Handlin, followed by Jacob Apenis and Sandy Chung. Lynn, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. I'm having some technical difficulties here. Okay. Hi, I'm Lynn Handlin. I'm with Extinction Rebellion PDX, and I'm here, like so many others, to ask you all to amend the fossil fuel phase-out language in the proposal to prevent an expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure and to enhance, to ensure the city, oh my goodness, sorry, I'm really having a day here. Okay. Enhance the city to undertake a decline in fossil fuels to real zero. But we need you to do this for real. And right now, the resolution that you have they're nice words, but they're not enforceable. And it's time and well past time that we make the no new fossil fuel infrastructure resolution a reality in Portland. The non-binding aspirational language you all put forth is unenforceable and in reality kind of useless. I'm not sure why this language was chosen instead of something that's really enforceable. And the weak language will not lead to real results. It's just, honestly, it's just more greenwashing at this point, which is not what we need. We already have plenty of that. And I'm sure you didn't intend for that to be the case, but that's kind of the reality right now. We can't afford to wait 10 more years for the next charter review. It's going to be too late by then. We all know about climate change. We've all experienced the impacts of climate change. And of course, it impacts low-income communities by far the worst, where the lowest tree canopy is actually out where I work in outer East Portland. And it's not fun. Seeing my daughter struggle to breathe and turning blue because of the wildfire smoke and, watching the trees die. It's time to act. You all know that. And we need a binding fossil fuel phase out, an enforceable mandate now, no more weak, unenforceable resolutions, no more waiting on and expecting the city and industries to do the right thing and act now. Unfortunately, the city has demonstrated their inability to take effective action to prevent fossil fuel infrastructure expansion. Just look at the expansion of Zenith Energy unimpeded, and the city is now trying to allow them to go 5 more years unimpeded. We need clear, enforceable language.
Next up, we have Sandy Chung.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Sandy Chung. My pronouns are she and her. I'm the executive director of the ACLU of Oregon, on whose behalf I am speaking today. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to the preservation and enhancement of civil liberties and civil rights, with more than 28,000 members statewide. Fundamentally, the ACLU of Oregon fights for a healthy and effective democracy. The council hearing today exemplifies democracy in action. People actively speaking and working on behalf of themselves, their families, and their communities in order to create a better city and world. The ACLU of Oregon urges you to listen to and support the community members here today who are asking you to support the charter measures or changes that will support a healthy and effective democracy. On behalf of the ACLU of Oregon community and our partners and allies who've already spoken today, I'm also here to specifically state our support for establishment of a transparency advocate. The ACLU of Oregon has fought for greater government transparency for a long time. For example, we brought the case ACLU of Oregon versus City of Eugene. In this case, the Oregon Supreme Court concluded that the public's interest in the transparency of government operations is particularly significant when the information relates to operations such as police departments that can result in violence and physical harm to people. We are hearing from Portland communities, especially BIPOC, low income and houseless communities, that there continue to be high levels of mistrust, by community members for the city and the Portland Police Bureau. Truly effective public governance requires the moral authority and legitimacy of the government and trust between the government and the community. If the government is transparent with information, this will help build community trust, and it will allow the community to work effectively with elected leaders and public bodies. In summary, we support the establishment of a transparency advocate because this will help strengthen democracy in the city of Portland. The city auditor is charged with ensuring access to public information, promoting an open and accountable government, and under the proposal, housing the transparency advocate. We ask you to support the auditor's office in engaging in further and refinement of the transparency advocate position so that this measure can go towards voters. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Next up, we have Deanne Salazar, followed by Bonnie McKinley and Thomas Lanham.
Can I skip?
Thank you. I am Dean Salazar, he, him. I'm 22 years old, Latino, autistic, a David Douglas High School graduate, and a member of the youth cohort with the Youth Voice, Youth Vote Participatory Budgeting Project, as well as a self-advocate on the Oregon Commission on Autism and many other organizations. I'm here today to urge you to refer the proposed charter amendment establishing participatory budgeting, aka PB, in Portland directly to the voters. The proposed measure should provide the minimum funding to establish and sustain PB as a new way of governing and budgeting in Portland. Why is PB critical in reviving democratic norms and injecting fresh blood into the political process? Let's take a 1,000-foot view of that issue, shall we? When we are reliant on candidate-centered populism or crisis to inspire community service and involvement, the republic falls into decline and demagoguery. Enter PB. PB is a process that showcases firsthand how these budget processes are formed, as well as creates a sense of belonging and confidence. Combined with boots on the ground advocacy and financial incentives, it will inspire fresh, young, diverse leadership that will lead to a revival of American values. Research in New York found that after participating in PB, people eligible to vote were 7% more likely to vote in general elections. If you're an advocate for small government, this can be an alternative to allow generous funding of infrastructure, poverty reduction, and public projects developed by local communities themselves, allowing local self-governance. PB, when combined with boots on the ground engagement of opportunity, allows communities, people of color, and youth to develop projects on their own and approve them. And if they make an error, it allows them to learn how government works and inspire thoughtfulness as well as deeper education in government, allowing us to have better informed, more involved voters who are less susceptible to the dangers of authoritarian populism. I have a vision that one day, on a bright spring morning, hundreds of people in neighborhoods across the state will gather for their annual PB program, designing, funding, and implementing many public projects to reduce local poverty and renovate infrastructure. This creates more bipartisanship, more involved communities, and affordable living. That is a long way away, but this is a big step to that new reality, out of the darkness we face. That's why I and many other people who wanted to be here today but are ill are requesting you to send this amendment to the voters. Similar charter amendments have passed by over 66% of voters in Boston, New York. Portland can and will do this. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jacob Appenis.
Hello, Portland City Council. Thank you for the time. My name is Jacob Appenis. I'm a member of 350 PDX's Forest Defense Team and a member of the Portland Committee for Human Rights in the Philippines. Most importantly, I've lived in Portland my whole life and am concerned that the charter recommendations on environmental issues do not do enough to fully protect my future, the future of Portland, and the future of future generations. We have seen and felt the smoke from thousands of acres of Oregon forests engulfed in flames. We know the people who have died from the 2021 heat dome. We understand that fossil fuels are the cause of our climate crisis. We know that continued use of fossil fuels will amplify already deadly droughts, wildfires, and floods. Because of this, the new language on a climate commitment must include language preventing the expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure and ensure the city undertakes a decline of fossil fuels to net zero. Once the proposed charter amendment is updated to include stricter fossil fuel phase-out language, the council should vote to refer the amendment directly to voters. This is our last chance to update the Portland City Charter to include a commitment to phase out fossil fuels. The 2030 Charter Commission will be too late. Now is the time to do something that will protect our future. Thank you for our time.
Next up, we have Bonnie McKinley, followed by Thomas Lanham.
Hi, I'm Bonnie McKinley. Thank you for this opportunity to speak for a binding amendment to the charter calling for immediate action on phasing out the expansion of fossil fuels. As a parent and a public school teacher, I emphasize the importance of taking responsibility. When we mess up, we apologize and fix the mess. When we see a problem, we deal. I'm talking today because we have for so long messed up. We have a planet-wide climate problem, and it is certainly time to deal with it. We have only to be residents on this miraculous life-generating planet to know how to deal. Not much scientific background required, just some simple memory to absorb the mounting parade of climate-triggered events and a basic grasp of how charts work. Upward lines mean hotter. Reports are issued. Governmental representatives convene at climate conferences. Representatives from fossil fuel industries slither in their way into these gatherings to perpetuate their contorted messages. 9 days ago, the New York Times reported that NASA and NOAA agree that the past 8 years are the hottest on record. All respected evidence points to the fact that continued use of fossil fuels is a major cause of temperature rise. I urge you to set a model for the nation in designing charter language that is clearly defined and binding to stop the expansion of fossil fuels in Portland. Thank you.
Next up, we have Thomas Lanham.
Good afternoon, City Council, and welcome, Commissioner Gonzalez. I'm Thomas Lanham. I'm your Deputy CFO and the Revenue Division Director. And I'd like to offer some brief remarks on recommended proposal number 1 to remove the 5% cap on the transient lodging tax. The Revenue Division of the Bureau of Revenue and Financial Services made this request to remove the 5% cap, otherwise known as the hotel motel tax. We made this request for several reasons. It aligns the city code with current practices found in comparable cities and ensures the charter is streamlined and includes only the broadest policy direction as befits a municipal charter. No other municipality we reviewed caps the hotel motel tax or any other tax in their charter. Rates are nearly universally governed by municipal code. The city's charter does not cap any other tax, only the hotel motel tax. This cap was put in place in 1971 and is outdated. The City Council, as elected representatives of the citizens of Portland, should have the discretion to set tax rates by ordinance without amending the charter. I want to emphasize that this request is not about increasing the hotel motel tax. To my knowledge, there is no such proposal, and Revenue is not making that proposal today. This request is simply to remove the limitation that should not reside in the charter. The Revenue Division recommends this proposal be referred to voters for consideration. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Thomas. Keelan, how many more do we have on 65?
That completes
Oh,
testimony.
it does? Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right. Well, first of all, thank you to all those who testified, especially those of you who came down to the council chambers. Thank you for your patience. It's great. It's great to be in person again. You know, it really does matter. It helps so much. You know, you get a lot of emails. You read the dense items sent to you, but it really does help when you have people show up and bring voice to it. So it really is appreciated by all of us. Before we go on to look at the reports, I want to do some clarification. So we're going to look at the report 66 that will be looking to vote to accept that report. And then 65 is, what's the next step with that? And I just want to make sure legal counsel, in full transparency, communicate that to the chamber.
There is no council action required for agenda item 65. And in this instant, for agenda item 66, there has been a request to vote to accept the report. And those are just the recommendations made by the Charter Commission to the City Council.
Great. Thank you for clarifying. I really appreciate that. Okay, colleagues, any deliberation before we go on to the vote? Okay, Keelan, so you'll be calling the roll for the reports, item 66, correct? Great.
Yeah, first we'll want someone to make a motion to accept the
Oh,
report.
I'll accept the report.
Okay, so I have.
Motion to accept the report. Yeah.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Rubio,
Are we voting now?
Yes.
Okay.
66.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for taking time to come speak to us on these proposals. Just a few thoughts, and I'll try and go through really quickly. I know it's been a long afternoon. What really resonated with me was the outline desire, or one of the things I should say that resonated was the outline desire outcomes aimed at strengthening democracy. These were really strong statements, and it really crystallized what this work is all about. So I just want to lift that up and commend you for that. Also, what resonates is the thoughtful and inclusive work that went into the proposals that were referred not only to the ballot, but the ones that we're hearing about today. And in particular, I just want to speak to one of the proposals that's been talked a lot about tonight, and that's up for consideration. It's really compelling and important that in all the conversations you've had, that climate justice was broadly supported and discussed at length by the commission, by advocates, and all the members of the public that testified. And some may or may not know, but I've been reassigned 4 bureaus that represent the city's community and economic development work. And my focus is, number one focus is to really get our numerous priority efforts off the ground in that area within the remaining years in order to be ready for the government transition. And climate and environmental justice is also at the core of that work. And so for some of you who don't know, we've just hired a chief sustainability officer who will have a significant role here. And part of their job will be to ensure that the city is meaningfully implementing climate and environmental justice policy as it relates to city business. And we'll also be standing up a new climate and sustainability commission. And I believe that several of the big moves and policy actions, and specifically some of the ones that we've discussed or heard about today, will be really central to their purpose and the work over the calendar year. And this proposal has helped also to reinforce this for me, and also it should materially inform this work. So more to come from exploration on this proposal. And should we have more to share on any of the proposals, we will reach back out. But I also want to acknowledge what I'm hearing from some who've testified today about concerns about transparency and lack of urgency. This is truly concerning to me, and I want to really apologize if we have not done enough to externally convey this urgency. Because truthfully, we all feel it, and on this and a number of issues connected. And we as a city should always strive to do better and be responsive to community. And at the same time, I want to assure you, as people and as someone who's really truly aligned with all the expressed desires for inclusion, for access, for fully representational democracy, those of us who are charged with the work internally are working and feel a lot of urgency to ensure that we're optimized for this transition, that it's successful, and that it's a priority. So please know that we're committed to ensuring that the city is moving expeditiously to implement the requirements and changes that were approved by voters, and to do so thoughtfully, equitably, and with that transparency. So I just felt like it was important to acknowledge that, to say we heard you, and to reaffirm our commitment to that. So again, thank you to all the charter commissioners and to the numerous Portlanders for every minute of time and energy that went into these proposals, that went into the feedback, the countless hours of meetings, and the work over the last 2 years, and to everyone who took the time to testify today. I vote aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Maps,
I'd just like to thank everybody who testified today. In addition, I really appreciate the presentation that we received from the Charter Review Commission. Many ideas that were presented today are compelling, and I look forward to learning more about them over the coming months. I'm glad to accept these reports, and I vote aye.
Ryan.
Yes, thanks again for being here today. I heard the themes loud and clear. You were all organized quite well, the climate pledge and also participatory budgeting. Those are the two items that I've been getting the most communication about, and then it was echoed again today. So I want to thank all of you for showing up, and I will be digging in further. And I also want to again thank Madam Auditor for your presentation. And with that, I'll just say I accept this report. Aye. Okay, everyone, thanks for being here. That concludes our business today in the afternoon session, and this meeting's adjourned.